I was at a show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, had to be 15 years ago, and people were yelling out requests as they do, and someone said, Alice's Restaurant, and you said, yeah, right.
Let's do this, man.
I'm gonna I think for the first time, maybe since the Christmas episode, I'm just gonna actively drink while we're recording this.
I envision this one just being super loose. I don't care about the quality at all. All right. So, fuck it.
So welcome?
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to Polishing Turds with Nick and Cal. My name is Nick.
And I'm Cal.
And this is the show where we take a deep dive into the wonderful world of band music.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I listened to it literally right before this. I didn't have time during the day, so I did it right before you came over.
Yeah.
And oh man, I gotta say
something else, isn't it?
I have to say, for this episode, I think this is the biggest stretch of bad music we've ever used. Is this a bad song? I don't love, I'm not gonna go put this on once a week.
I'm not gonna say this. It's bad music. It's a bad tradition. It's a bad Thanksgiving thing. It's more weird than bad.
Yeah, and it's a one trick pony. It's got a single quirk, and you either find that funny or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We don't want to get in too much without explaining what we're talking about, but this is a weird song.
Yeah, and once you guys hear it, or if you have heard it, I think you'll agree with us. All right, so today we're gonna kind of switch things up. We just finished a big series on Black Eyed Peas. We're about to do an even bigger one on a massively cringy artist. We're super excited about it, but I need more time to do my due diligence and research that subject. So today we're gonna just do a little bit of a minisode, more of a relaxed fit. I wrote a very skeletal script and I've barely prepared. So what's it all about? It is with Thanksgiving coming just around the corner, we are going to talk about one of the most unusual Thanksgiving traditions that exist. But first, I want to take a moment to talk about Thanksgiving just in general as a holiday. Now, Cal, what comes to mind when you think of Thanksgiving?
I think Thanksgiving's actually become my favorite holiday of the big four.
Yeah.
Honestly. You guys can guess my feelings towards Christmas at this point. It's a capitalism fest, pisses me off. Easter, I'm not religious, so that's kind of a joke. I like the imagery of Halloween, but now that I have a home in a suburb with tons of children, I've kind of come to not like Halloween either.
It's a lot of work.
It leaves Thanksgiving, which is great. You get good food. I get to watch 2 games of football. Eat
three now. There's a.
Well, I was gonna say 2. Eat a bunch of food and then try and stay awake through a 3rd. And it's a pretty good day. I really like Thanksgiving.
No, eating, drinking, and watching football, and not having to buy shit for people.
Yeah, it's just about coming
costumes.
together.
It's pretty badass. I agree with you, Cal. I've come to really like Thanksgiving, but I hated it for quite a few years. And that's because I worked in retail.
Oh, God.
And particularly, I worked in a grocery store for a number of years. And when you work in the grocery industry, Thanksgiving is hell on earth. And you cannot wait for it to be finished. And I just got to say, for everybody that is shopping for turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce and shit on Thanksgiving, I just want you guys to just keep one thing in mind. There's never any more in the back. When you don't see something on a shelf, don't waste the stalker's time by asking if there's more. If there's more in the back, it'd be on the shelf.
You sure you didn't put every turkey you have out here?
Like, you gotta understand, these guys want to make a profit.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna hoard it away just because they want the collector's value. If it's there, it's on the shelf.
You brought back
Don't waste their time.
A weird memory for me too. I there was a Thanksgiving as a kid I worked because I think our family like moved it or something came up. So I worked at McDonald's for Thanksgiving, and two sad souls showed up. And that has always kind of stuck in my memory of like, there is people out there that have so little connection to their family that they're going to McDonald's on Thanksgiving.
There was one year that I was in college. I went to college several states away from where I live, and I couldn't afford to fly home, so I just went to a Chinese restaurant for Thanksgiving. And
they're notorious for being open on Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, they didn't give a fuck. But I'm such a loner that was pretty dope for me at the time.
Nice.
And I was 20. I didn't appreciate family the way I do nowadays. So that was actually pretty fun. But yeah, no, Thanksgiving is actually pretty fun, and we hope that all of you guys enjoy yourselves.
I just want to pull on one thing. In the script, Nick wrote, "Make Thanksgiving jokes if we have any." Nick, I have to ask you, what is a Thanksgiving joke? I just gotta ask. You ever eat turkey, get diarrhea? Like, what do I say? I don't have a joke.
I don't know. That was a Hail Mary.
It's a Thanksgiving joke, people.
There's people.
I'm sure you could write something around your, racist uncle that shows up, or like
Google Neil Hamburger cranberry sauce. I don't have time to recite his whole bit, but he has a brilliant joke about Courtney Love and cranberry sauce.
Okay, there you go.
That ends on a very dark note.
All right, so there is a Thanksgiving genre of joke.
Well, today we are going to talk about a Thanksgiving tradition that I honestly had never heard of until about a year ago, but it is very real and it's been going on for more than 50 years. You see, every year on Thanksgiving, rock radio stations across the country play one specific track, and it's a track that almost never gets played at any other point in time. And what's even more interesting is that this track is an 18-minute folk song that was originally written as a protest against the Vietnam War. The song is by Arlo Guthrie, and it's called Alice's Restaurant. And as you intimated, Cal, this is kind of a doozy, isn't it?
I'm still kind of processing how I feel about it. Because it's, on one hand, I find it annoying. But on the other hand, I really appreciate the cleverness of the story and the metaphor of what he's doing.
It's very absurd.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a weird kind of piece of music history.
It's a kind of thing that just could only have come out of the 60s folk scene.
Yeah,
feel.
totally. Totally.
18 minutes of a guy just rambling this completely wild story.
It's almost like a parody of Bob Dylan, but then it comes it turns around and it's kind of as a serious message if you really read into it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just, it's weird. You'll enjoy this.
Yeah. Released in 1967, the song is technically titled Alice's Restaurant Massacre, but it's commonly known as just Alice's Restaurant. It basically consists of a long rambling story in two parts, spoken by Guthrie as he picks his guitar in a Piedmont style. The story itself is farcical but largely true, having been inspired by actual events in Guthrie's life. It takes place on Thanksgiving, but isn't really a Thanksgiving song, nor is it really about a restaurant or even about Alice. So what is this song all about? And why on earth did it become a Thanksgiving tradition? Well, that is what Cal and I are going to explore in this very, very special minisode. Are you ready, Cal?
I'm ready to polish this turd.
Let's polish this Thanksgiving turd.
You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back. just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant.
I wonder if I can get a ham hock at Alice's restaurant. Or some, duck liver or something weird.
Some patisserie, perhaps at Alice's restaurant.
Yeah, I want something strange that I've never had before.
I want a bacon cronut. I mean, these guys are hipster, but are they, modern, annoying white boy hipster?
No, they're not there.
I mean, they're the spiritual ancestors of that, I suppose. But
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. They were just living in places where the rent was, like 1,000 times cheaper than it is now. They walked so we could run. Okay, so I got to point out something kind of right out the get-go, and there's sort of an inherent limitation to doing an entire episode about a single song.
I was so curious how you were going to figure out how to do this.
So usually like what we do for you guys is like we take a 1 minute long clip of a song, like just as much as we think we can get away with, and then like just extrapolate based on that and like just talk about it and move on. But now we got to deal with an 18-minute song where, he's basically just talking the entire time. And that hook you just heard, like there's only 2 times in the whole song you're gonna hear that.
Yeah, I would recommend trying to listen to this in one go if you can.
Yeah, oh for sure.
Like Nick was trying to say, that shit ain't coming back for a while. That was the catchiest part of the song.
Yeah, the rest of it is gonna be that same underlying guitar riff, but he's just gonna talk over it for the length of a typical work break.
Even that already brings up one of the spots I'm conflicted. It's probably hard to sit there and play that while you're telling this story.
Yeah.
So, there's talent here to do this. But then there's just the aspect of, why?
Why not?
Yeah.
All right. Obviously this song is, about a story, and what I'm going to try to do is explain the gist of that story to you. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about its author, Arlo Guthrie. Arlo Guthrie was born July 10th, 1947 in Brooklyn, New York. He's the son of American folk music legend Woody Guthrie, whose work profoundly inspired a generation of songwriters, including Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia, and Johnny Cash. Had you heard of Woody Guthrie at all, Cal?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, I take that back. Is he the one that wrote a song about Donald Trump Sr.?
Did he?
Yeah, I think he has a song upset about Donald Trump's dad buying up all this New York real estate.
Holy shit. I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing he would do. He was very like left-wing in his views. Like, since this is a minisode, I don't care. I'm going to Google this right now.
Yeah, if I might be off here, but it's ringing a bell.
Holy shit, you're right. Old Man Trump is a song with lyrics written by American folk singer-songwriter Woody Guthrie in 1954. Yeah. The song describes the racist housing practices and discriminatory rental policies of his landlord, Fred Trump.
And that's why I'm good at Jeopardy. I remember weird shit sometimes.
God, I wrote this episode and I don't know that. That's just, that's amazing on so many levels.
That's why you keep me around.
It's just like... like just feels like history is this like Tolstoy-esque, like epic where these kind of characters like just snipe back and forth across generations.
One of my I'll have this criticism of certain TV shows every now and then that is like, why does every character know each other? Why are all their fates intertwined? But then you go to the real world with 8 billion of us and this still somehow kind of happens. So, is it really that unrealistic?
And like, I haven't dived into Arlo's discography, but I'm sure there's a diss track against Donald somewhere.
Yeah.
And hopefully Arlo's progeny will be talking shit about Eric Trump.
As long as there's Trumps alive, the Guthries will write songs about them.
Forget the Hatfields, McCoys, the Trumps versus the Guthries. Yeah, but just like think about so Woody Guthrie, he's someone that like is just so old he's been kind of lost to modern historical memory, but like he's hugely important. You know, like Bob Dylan like just owed his entire career to this guy basically. And like just the whole modern folk movement being mainstreamed in American music was largely due to stuff Woody Guthrie did. But think about Arlo. Like he is the son of this guy. He's around 18 when this song comes out. So like
that's younger than I would have guessed.
Yeah, he's pretty young. So he decides to become a songwriter himself, and so he's carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders.
All right, that's more impressive. His sense of humor at 18 was a lot more mature than mine.
Yeah. And so, as we kind of mentioned before, Woody Guthrie was a very political guy, very left-wing guy. I know he was kind of associated with a lot of communist groups around that era, but he wasn't a member himself, but like he was very, pro-working man, anti-war, and a lot of that stuff passed on to Arlo. And then, Arlo is coming of age. He's 18 in 1967. And this is during the height of the Vietnam War. So he is facing the prospect of getting drafted, and that's some pretty serious shit to go into a war that you don't believe in and where thousands and thousands of young men are dying, all the time. It's pretty fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So he writes this song called Alice's Restaurant Massacre in 1967. And it is the, he'd been kind of tooling around the New York City folk scene, the cafes and stuff for a while, but this is the first song that earns him a record deal. He starts
that too. Okay. That fact too. Just the fact that an 18-minute rambling story is the song that finally gets him a record deal. These were different times.
Well, in my day, people weren't on their phones. We had a lot more patience, you youngsters.
You joke, but I caught myself thinking that about halfway through the song. Like, how long is this motherfucker?
I know.
They must have had a lot more time back then.
Yeah, like it is pretty fucking crazy. Like, you imagine like radio stations were like, when do we get to play a commercial? Can we just split this up, please? So, but like they started playing it at like a lot of like kind of New York alt radio stations, and it caught on. It got really popular. So the record companies just gave him a record deal, and he puts out the album called Alice's Restaurant. The A side is the 18-minute song, and the B side is just a few more traditional folk songs. It's a good record.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. He's a solid singer-songwriter. But what's also interesting and kind of tragic is that Arlo's father, Woody Guthrie, he had Huntington's disease, and he died of that just like basically days after this album came out. So Arlo has joked in the past that he played a demo version of this song for his dad, and that was the last song that Woody Guthrie ever heard.
So why would you do this?
That's what drove him over the edge. All right, so now let's actually get to the song itself. And as I said before, this is a story in two parts, and I want to just do my best to kind of summarize how the story goes. So it all starts two Thanksgivings ago when Arlo and a friend of his spent Thanksgiving Day at an abandoned church that his hippie friends Alice and Ray Brock had been living in. This is like your typical hippies take over a
Yes.
church and convert it to like a kind of a glorified squat house.
This is literally what I think of when I think of hippies.
Yeah.
Squatting in a building that they don't own.
Mm-hmm. So this church/house, happened to be littered with garbage. Again, not super surprising. And so to be nice, Arlo and his friend loaded up all of the trash into the back of his Volkswagen van and drove it to the city dump, only to realize that the dump was closed for Thanksgiving. So they decided to basically just dump the trash by the side of the road.
I love how in the song at this part of the story he goes, "I ain't never heard of a dump that was closed on Thanksgiving." I have so many questions about that sentence. Like, A, you knew the hours of the dump on Thanksgiving, and then B, you think that the guy who works the dump doesn't enjoy Thanksgiving? Like, I think that's one of the big holidays that everything's closed for, and everyone knows it.
Especially in the 60s, it wasn't like modern Black Friday culture where everybody's gotta open up.
No, I'm gonna leave my family behind to make sure this here dump's protected.
I thought the dump man didn't have no family. I thought he just spent all day talking with his junkyard dog Sam and making friends with a discarded banana peel. So he dumps the trash by the side of the road. And the next day, Arlo and his friend get a call from a policeman that he refers to as Officer Obi. Obi summons them to the police station where they are both promptly arrested for littering. The two boys are put in the back of a squad car, and well, here's what Arlo says happens next.
Said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car," and that's what we did. Sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, "scene of the crime," unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened. Here they got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster, tire track, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography.
Yeah, so in other words, complete overkill on the part of the Stockbridge police.
Yeah, there's nothing more dangerous than bored cops.
Yeah, and we grew up in the suburb of Middleton, Wisconsin, so we would know.
Well, and Middleton's big now. We grew up when it was small, so it was even worse.
But always overstaffed with cops who really love nothing better than to make a mountain out of a molehill when it came to teenagers who just wanted to smoke weed in the back of the Roundy's grocery store.
Yep. I remember they used to walk dogs through our school, and that was a big deal. The day that happened, and like all they got was like a couple kids that had a bag of weed, and that's like it.
Yeah, but that was that. Like,
you'd all hear about who got busted, and you're going with, in hindsight as an adult, it's like, with what?
And that freaked people out. It was amazing.
Yep.
So that happens, and Arlo and his friend are taken back to jail, where the cops take away Arlo's belt because, quote, "we don't want no hangings." You're gonna hang me over littering?
Yeah.
I love that. And then they eventually get bailed out by Alice, and the next day the boys stand trial, but are surprised when the judge walks in with a seeing eye dog, i.e. the judge is blind, and thus all of those expensive photographs that the police spent so much time taking are basically useless.
Yeah, if this part's true, like, that's just too convenient of a metaphor for me. Blind justice, like literal justice is blind.
Yeah, it's why this story is like more rich than it sounds. Like when you hear it, it just sounds like a really obnoxious guy that you wouldn't want to sit next to on a train. but it's actually very clever, especially for something written by an 18-year-old, as you said, Cal.
Yeah, no, this thing is steeped in metaphor if you really listen close and read the lyrics after.
Oh yeah, for sure. And now we get to part 2 of the story, where the implications become marginally more serious. See, this part deals with Arlo's experience of getting a physical exam from the U.S. Army as part of the Vietnam War draft process. And it goes without saying, Arlo did not want to get drafted. So here he goes through what I can only describe as a series of Looney Tunes-like maneuvers in order to make himself seem unfit for service, including showing up massively hungover and a bunch of other things, including this thing that happens when he gets to the psychiatrist's office.
And I walked in, I sat down, they gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. And I went up there, I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. And I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And they started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And the sergeant came over, pinned the medal on me, set me down the hall, said, "You're our boy."
It's funny, like, I don't know. That's less clever now because we all know what war is about. And if you did go in there, I just want to kill people.
Yeah, that's
there's no illusions here anymore.
Yeah. Although I will say that is something I appreciate about the anti-war movement of the 60s is that they acknowledge that. Whereas I feel like today, to the extent that there is any kind of anti-war political sentiment, which there really isn't, it's more along the lines of like, oh, it's too expensive, or it's a waste of resources, or it's not strategically sound, this, that, the other thing. But like with these hippies at this point in time, and hippies are dumb in a lot of ways, but they were right about the war. They were 100% right about that. And the thing they kept emphasizing was war is fundamentally barbaric, and it turns young men into monsters. Like, even in the best of circumstances, even when the cause is just, you still are taking, ordinary young boys and turning them into, killing machines in ways that are going to fuck them up forever.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Not just the people they attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this whole like shtick that Arlo does kind of continues on for a little while. And then it gets to a point where the army guys ask Arlo if he's ever been arrested before. And so Arlo tells the story of what happened at Alice's restaurant the year before. And in a final climactic irony, it is the revelation of this citation for littering that ultimately disqualifies Arlo Guthrie from military service.
See, again, now, whether this is true or not, whatever, that's so funny and clever for an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
To come up with the idea of like, you want to determine if I'm moral enough to go kill other people in another country, and you realized I littered once, and you decided I'm not ready to go kill other people in another country. I'm not morally fit.
It's solid gold. And then that's that basically wraps up the song. He reintroduces the chorus. He has the audience all sing along because this whole thing was recorded live.
Yep.
And it's just it's entertaining.
That's where I had a tough time with this of, our show's about bad music, and I'm okay with stretching the definition for Thanksgiving special, but I sure as I kind of said that, like,
yeah,
I'm okay with stretching the definition for Thanksgiving special, but I don't know, man. I don't know if this is a bad song. I like it.
No, I'm going to straight up say this is not a bad song. This is just such a weird thing that I feel like nobody talks about.
Yeah, this is more for the fun curiosity of it.
Yeah. So, and
I guess you could say it's bad in the sense I will listen to this once a year, like everyone else. This isn't my favorite song I've ever heard. It's long.
So, Arlo is to this day a touring music. Well, I think he's like retired like in the past couple of years. He's in his 70s and COVID and whatnot. But he had a very long and storied career as a folk rock musician. But this is his most famous song.
And this is one of those unlikely starts to a career I could possibly imagine. Right? But
it'd be like if the Beatles like started with Revolution 9 and like that became such a massive hit that it's like, oh, what are we gonna do now? Well, I got this idea called Please Please Me.
Love Me Do.
So, but like he gets requests shouted at him for this song all the time, and he can't do an 18-minute song by himself every night.
And I was wondering about this too, like, how do you memorize this song? Even if you wrote it, like it's almost like half stream of consciousness. It has to be like, the skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
But just reading the lyrics sheet, you're sitting there going like, you can't memorize this shit.
I think he did. I actually think that wasn't a hard part for him because he came from a scene of folk musicians that all the songs they were singing were these like long story songs, and every one of those guys had like to have a bank of like just folk songs that like stretch back 200 years,
man,
and
that's
they
crazy.
know all of them, and they can, they get together with like Pete Seeger and guys like that, and they can just like, it's like, oh, let's play She's Coming Around the Mountain, or like play this or that, the other thing, and they all know it and they all jump in right away.
That's
That's
insane,
what that
dude.
scene was like, man.
That's crazier to me that's more impressive than like one of Obama's State of the Unions, that they can just memorize this shit.
No, these guys were G's. Yeah, so I want to spend a little bit of time just kind of talking about the song and its legacy. And I got to start off with this little factoid. As we said, it's called Alice's Restaurant Massacre, but
Which we're not mispronouncing that.
that's how it's
Yep.
spelled. It's not massacre, massacre, and there is a difference. So I did y'all a favor of looking this up on Wikipedia, and I'm just gonna read this explanation out. Guthrie refers to the incident as a massacre, a colloquialism originating in the Ozark Mountains that describes an event so wildly and improbably and baroquely messed up that the results are almost impossible to believe. It's a corruption of the word massacre, but carries a much lighter and more sarcastic connotation rather than describing anything involving actual death.
Now, Nick, I was surprised in the script you didn't bring this up because you're a massive Ramones fan.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I was like reading this, I'm like, why did he not say anything?
I feel like that's too esoteric, maybe,
No,
but now that you brought it up,
Yeah, there's a Ramones song where they changed Texas Chainsaw Massacre into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I forget the exact vocal melody. But
all right, so my theory on that has always been
they just mispronounced it.
No, that Joey was lazy and wanted to rhyme something with "They took my baby away from me."
I am 90% sure you're right.
I don't think that those guys knew about the intricacies of like Ozark anthropology enough to.
Because I agree too. The first time I heard that Ramones song, I thought these idiots mispronounced massacre, and like it's part of the hook now. So
no, like they're just being dumb and like forcing a rhyme, but it doesn't matter because like it's the Ramones, and like,
right, they sniff glue all the time.
They sniff glue, like they're one of those songs is about like blowing guys for heroin money. Like it's fun.
I used this script as an excuse to listen to that song. I was like, oh yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Never a bad reason to do that. Now, as I said before, most of the incidents that take place in this story are true, at least according to Arlo Guthrie. Arlo and his friend really were arrested for littering. That's a matter of public record, and it was reported in the Stockbridge, Massachusetts newspaper at the time. And Alice Brock is a real person. She really did run a restaurant. It was called the Back Room, and it wasn't actually out of the church. It was kind of nearby. Although the restaurant happened to be closed by the time that Arlo Guthrie put out this album.
Okay.
But she did, in case you're wondering, she did cash in on this, and she did end up opening or partnering with people who wanted to open
That's smart.
A chain called Alice's Restaurant.
She's a business hippie.
Yeah, like if something like this falls into your lap, like
you take that shit.
No, like we've said before, like if you become a meme, embrace the meme.
Yes.
So she did the mid 20th century equivalent of that.
I think Arlo, he did this because it's a lot easier to find a rhyme for restaurant than church.
You can hang out and just lurch at Alice's abandoned church. So although some of the stories detailed are clearly exaggerated for comic effect, a lot of the interviews with Arlo's acquaintances, including the officer, his name is like Officer Oberon or Oberheimer. I forgot.
Oberon would be sweet.
But he calls him Officer Obi. And he also confirmed that most of the details in the story are true.
The whole part about the cop overreaction, I totally buy. Actually.
Oh, yeah. That's the kind of shit that small town cops would do.
Yes.
The only thing we don't have a lot of independent confirmation of is like the shit that happened in the draft office. And like, I'm sure like the kill
Yeah,
thing
that's
was,
a story.
like that's a little too cartoonish, but I mean, he did avoid going to Vietnam somehow. And it does stand to reason that like an arrest of any kind would disqualify you for military service.
That's good to know.
So the next time you see somebody dumping trash by the side of the road, instead of waving your finger at them, just pause to think that they might be just trying to save their own ass. The next time we have to go to war with Bangladesh or whatever.
It's fun to think that if the draft ever came up in the U.S., God forbid, I could use my long arrest record and get out of that shit.
Although I was going to like make a joke about like Russians being impressed in military service, but apparently they're doing the opposite. The more
you've been arrested, the better.
They're sending all their prisoners in there because they understand the kill part probably better than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this song was a big hit for Arlo Guthrie, and to this day it remains his most well-known song. And it kind of caused Arlo to become a celebrity in 60s counterculture, and he eventually even played at Woodstock. So like, I mean, it wasn't just because his dad was Woody Guthrie, although that helped, but he definitely made a name in his own right. And then this is the weird part. They adapted this song into a movie in 1969. The movie starred Arlo Guthrie himself.
Doesn't this defeat the hippie vibe of this a little bit?
I was listening to a couple of interviews with Arlo, and he said that like he was never opposed to like making money on principle. Like he's maybe not as communistic as his dad. Okay. Like he's a little bit more chilled out.
People gotta eat. Yeah.
Like he's just like, he's one of those hippies that's like, he doesn't want to like overthrow the system. He just wants to be left alone. Like he lives like out on a farm in Massachusetts. Like
I get these people.
It's that kind of vibe. Where, like,
I could get into that.
So he was never opposed to like making money or becoming famous, but he also never actively sought that out. Like, in other words, he's not Will.i.am. He's not Chad Kroeger. He's just a guy making music, and if people happen to like it, great. That was more his vibe. And then I'm sure when Hollywood approached him about doing this movie, he's like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And here comes everybody's favorite part of Polishing Turds, the Nick Vitale movie review. Because God damn it, Cal, I actually did watch this thing. Even though I knew this was just gonna be a stupid mini-sode that like most people are gonna skip over.
More obscure film than like anyone I know at this point. I don't mean obscure in like an artsy cool way. I mean like you've watched weird shit for
stuff
this
that
show.
Shouldn't. I've watched between the time that this show began, I've watched maybe like a dozen movies that should not exist. And all right, I'm not gonna say it's horrible. It was directed by Arthur Penn, who directed a number of like classic 60s movies, including The Chase. You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's really good. And Bonnie and Clyde. He had just done Bonnie and Clyde, which is a huge hit in the mid 60s. And then the next thing he did was the Alice's Restaurant movie, starring a guy who had never acted before. And I will say, Arlo does the right thing when you are a non-actor cast as a leading role in a movie. He doesn't try to act. He just like is himself, like walking around. He doesn't put on any airs.
I can actually, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Especially with a song, when it's based on a song like this, where he more or less is just telling his damn story.
Mm-hmm. So he just basically just reads the lines, and they work in a number of scenes where he's playing music, and those are the ones where he clearly looks most comfortable. But the movie, I'm really not sure what they were trying to do. This kind of came out during an age where you had like movies like Easy Rider and The Graduate, and like these films that were kind of exploring 60s counterculture and kind of like shining an eye on it and kind of celebrating it a little bit. And I think Alice's Restaurant, the movie, was trying to do that, but for me, it just kind of doesn't land. It's very unfocused. They build a story around Alice and Ray buying up this church and converting it, and Alice's husband is a total dick, and Alice is struggling, and she has kind of this like unrequited romantic interest in Arlo, which Arlo keeps rebuffing. And
none of this is in the song.
No.
Why would you do this?
So like the first hour of the movie is like stuff that has nothing to do with the song. And then you get to the events of the song where they have the Thanksgiving dinner. They load up the truck with the garbage and dump it on the side of the road, get arrested, go to the draft board. And that's like a 30-minute chunk of the film. But like the first like hour, it's like a very slow meandering drama, and then it gets to this like kind of goofy lighthearted comedy, and
weird,
so it's a very weird tonal shift, and then it just kind of dissolves into like nothing. Like there's no real point to this movie.
Do you think when he pitched this movie to like producers, he basically just went on a long rambling story?
he shows up to the movie studio lot with the guitar. Now here's a story. Just
because that's
now
like
here's
Arlo's whole joke near the end is like, show up to the draft office and basically just sing this song and get your friends all do it.
He didn't write a screenplay. He just fade in on exterior. Abandoned restaurant. We focus on Alice. She's 46. Walks in with Ray Brock 49.
That's pretty much what I pictured.
And then they were just like, shut up. We'll do the movie.
Here's some money.
Just
No
get
one
out of
cares.
here. But yeah, so I don't know. If you're a fan of Alice's Restaurant, just stick with the song. I'm not big on the movie. You guys can watch it and see if you disagree with me.
It's tough, man. If we were to branch into bad film, we'd have a treasure trove, an endless number of episodes we could do, because the amount of bad film that exists far outnumbers the amount of bad music, I think.
I kept trying to pressure my girlfriend to watch the Billy Ray Hallmark movie Christmas in Canaan. She flatly refused.
Nick, even as a member of this show, I don't think I could fucking do it. Even those clips of Doc we watched were like, who
from based on the trailer for Christmas in Canaan, it looks like Doc on Xanax.
Oh my god.
Okay, but so now we have one last question to cover, and that is, why did Alice's Restaurant become a Thanksgiving tradition? And the answer is, I don't fucking know.
At the start of the song, he says this happened on Thanksgiving, and that's the only tie.
So there's a very loose tie. It happened on Thanksgiving. It is the wreckage, the aftermath of a Thanksgiving dinner. I suppose if there's any message to this song, it is take out your own garbage and do it on designated days.
No. The answer is purposely at some point get arrested for something trivial and you can dodge the draft.
Okay, yeah, that too. But I guess more seriously though, like, we don't have many national media Thanksgiving traditions besides football, but
like, what is it, Macy's Day Parade? Is that Thanksgiving?
Yeah, there's Macy's Day Parade, and that's pretty cool. And if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you get to watch them lose on a Thursday as opposed to any other day.
You subject the rest of the nation to your misery for a day every year.
But radio stations, like, what do they have to do? So here's the thing that they can do. Like, I don't know how many people would be listening to the radio on Thanksgiving, post 1920.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like how you wrote, make a Thanksgiving joke into the script, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? That's what radio is feeling every Thanksgiving. I think that's how we landed on this.
So, but the person who turned me onto this whole thing was my girlfriend, and she said that she grew up in Seattle, so every year her mom, like at noon, at noon, the Seattle radio station would play this, and they as a family would gather and listen to Alice's Restaurant
Wow.
before they, got on with the meal.
There are dozens of those families out there.
Presumably. No, seriously, if you know about this tradition and have fond memories associated with it, I want to hear from you. polishingturdspodcast@gmail.com. Let me know. I'm very curious how many people even know about this.
Me as well, because literally, well, I only asked maybe 5 people, but no one had any idea what I was talking about. Small sample size, but still, I think the people that are aware of this are in the minority.
Yeah. And, that's kind of sad because I think we both agree we kind of like this song.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to find a place for an 18-minute song. It's not like if you were driving on the way home from work and Alice's Restaurant came on, you might be kind of amused and happy for 3 or 4 minutes.
Right. I'm switching that shit.
Would you listen to the entire goddamn thing?
No. And that's what I was saying. Maybe that's why it became a tradition. This is like a once in a year kind of song.
Yeah. It's it's good enough and interesting and poignant enough that it deserves to have a status in our cultural memory, but it's also weird and long enough that it can't fit into everyday life. So you need a special occasion for it.
It reminds me of the turkey itself. Now I think about it. If you roast an entire turkey, that's a once in a year meal because we all trick ourselves into thinking it's good, but it's not actually that good. You don't want dry ass turkey all year round.
No, you wouldn't, and you wouldn't do that. Just what are we having tonight, Mom? Oh, I think I'll get a turkey.
Yeah, more turkey.
So yeah, so it just makes sense. This is the only way to fit a work of art like this into our cultural ecosystem. But all of that said, as much as I respect this song and Arlo Guthrie, I have to say, as soon as he dies, I don't think we need to play this song anymore. And I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out, Cal. There's never been a good Thanksgiving song up until relatively recently in our culture. But now there is, and we've already played it on this show. It's Nicole Westbrook's It's Thanksgiving.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving.
I had blocked that song from my memory.
We're gonna have a good time. As soon as the boomer generation dies out, I think that should be the Thanksgiving song. And I think families should gather around the fireplace,
watch that fucking
the
video.
Electronic fireplace to watch the Nicole Westbrook Arc Music Factory video.
You have to actually watch the video. You can't get away with just listening.
You got to watch the video, and you got to track down the same ridiculous turkey costume that Pato wears in it, because that's what the holiday is all about.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this very special mini-sode. We hope you guys all have a happy Thanksgiving. Are you guys doing anything, Cal?
Yeah, I am off the hook for the turkey this year. In fact, I'm off the hook for almost all the cooking. I've been assigned a meat and cheese tray.
Oh,
I can fucking do
board?
that. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love cooking. I'm a good cook, but to be honest, man, I've had a trying month in my life. Not in an emotional way. I'm just very busy. I am excited to be off the hook for any work with Thanksgiving.
No, that's awesome. No, I'm gonna be taking it easy, just celebrating with a very small collection of my family, and probably just drinking a bunch of beer.
Hell yeah, that's the best part.
So as always, we love you guys. We can't wait to share the next series we're gonna do. Definitely reach out to us. Email polishingturdspodcast@gmail.com. We are on social media, polishing.turds on Instagram, polishing_turds on Twitter. Frankly, though, we're not really satisfied with any of these platforms the way they're going at the moment. Meta is still being weird for us, and Twitter is run by a midlife crisis fucking space boy moron. So we're open to the possibility of migrating somewhere else. Maybe
you'll know soon.
Yeah, but no, maybe we'll keep to be fair, we'll keep those accounts up and we'll keep posting on them. But like, honestly, just like, let's all get together and let's all crowdfund the Polishing Turds social media app.
There you go.
We are the kings, and it is not free speech. It is Cal and Nick's speech. we approve or deny every single post as it comes up.
We will become the monsters we've rallied against through the course of this series.
No, so we're not hypocrites. We admit that we are completely arbitrary in all of our decisions, but you can rest assured knowing that.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the turkey and always do the next right thing.
Turkey, eggs, potatoes.